Hi, friend. In the story of the Gospel of John, we're at the point where we're into what's called Holy Week, and Jesus has been arrested, and now he's been hauled before a judge, a local magistrate named Pilate. Pilate is the local leader of the Roman Empire, and he's questioning Jesus. He's disquieted about this whole situation. There's something going on, and he's spiritual enough, I guess, to realize that there's something bigger than what he understands going on. And so he starts asking Jesus a series of questions, among which, are you a king? And Jesus really doesn't give him a direct answer. He walks around that conversation. But in the light of that conversation in John 18:37, he says, for this purpose I was born, and for this purpose I have come into the world, to bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice. Pilate famously asked Jesus, what is truth? And of course, he's looking for this way out of a situation that is uncomfortable to him. And so he's asking these questions, but he's sitting in judgment over Jesus. But everyone in this story is actually being judged and confronted by Jesus. That's the truth of what's going on. Everyone must decide what to do with Jesus, including Pilate in the story. And so we come to this moment and we see Pilate trying to work out who Jesus is, what should he do in relationship to what Jesus has brought about. But he refuses to commit himself. He refuses to pick a side. He stops short of following Jesus, even though he begins to recognize there's something going on. And friend, I've got to warn you, that's just not enough. That's what we in South Louisiana call weak coffee. It's not going to wake you up. It's not going to save your life. You can't avoid a decision about Jesus. And so this is a tough message being laid before us as we read it. The reality is that the truth demands a response. Jesus is the truth, he proclaims. And so that demands a response, either a yes, I agree, or a no, I disagree. You can't be in the middle ground with this matter. It's famously said, if you want to read scriptures and you want to believe Jesus is a real human being, but you want to just avoid the fact that he is God, then you must understand that Jesus is a liar, because he says he is God multiple times. If you want to say he's not saving us, that he doesn't have the power to save us, then he's a madman, because he lives as if he does and he dies as if he does. And so you can't have it that way. You have to make a decision here. And Pilate asks, what's the truth? And the reality is we ask what is the truth as well. We're trying to find a neutral way. I think most human beings at some point try to find a neutral way around the question of who is God and who is Jesus. They don't want to be locked in. We say things like in our culture, that may be true for you, but it's not true for me. Or I believe in Jesus, but I don't believe you have to. That's true. You don't have to believe anything, but there's no way to go to heaven without Jesus. That's what he's confronting us with in this Gospel of John, and certainly in these last chapters. So refusing to choose is not neutrality. It's actually a choice. When you refuse to say yes, you're saying no. And that's a hard message to hear sometimes. Pilate attempts to compromise. He wants to satisfy the crowd while not personally condemning Jesus, but his indecision becomes rejection. His indecision leads to Jesus' death. And the fact of the matter is that the only reason why we know who Pilate is today is because of his relationship with Jesus. His decision to walk away from him, his decision to turn his back on him. Now we know Pilate was a historical figure because there are documents that assert to this truth, but we wouldn't bother connecting the dots to who he was if it wasn't for Jesus. So he's remembered for all these years because of the decision he did not make. He did not make a decision to stand up for Jesus. He did not act on his disquiet. Rather, he acted upon the disquiet of those around him. He caved in to what the world demanded of him instead of doing what he could clearly see with his own eyes. He did not respond to the truth. So the question for us, friends, the question for you, is will you respond to the truth? Will you take this day to follow Jesus, to say yes? I hope you will. Friend, I hope to see you around. God bless you.